If you're worried about rising costs, you're probably not alone. Prices are rising and wages just aren't keeping up. It means our money doesn't go as far. But today we'll look at what drives us to spend and how we can make better financial decisions, especially if you are feeling the pinch. Now, most of us will have noticed prices going up. For the most industrialised nations, inflation is up by 6.6%. It is the fastest rate in 30 years. A big driver is the price of energy. That's up by over 25% in December of last year compared to the year before. So it means if you paid $80 to heat your house at the end of 2020, it now costs you $100. And those increases mean people are having to think more about money. Here's what some of them told us in New York.
My rent went up just last month by $400, so that was a little rough.
We own a taco business, Haybo's Tacos, by the way. So, but yeah, man, sometimes, we get busy. Sometimes, especially right now, since, like you said, inflation's, there's, months where everything's up, and then there's a couple weeks when things will be down. So it kind of goes up and down, up and down, up and down on that. But especially, I feel like the middle class is the one that suffers the most.
I just have to be better at budgeting and cutting out things like getting my nails done or my hair done or going shopping with my friends because it's important. You gotta eat.
We make about 35,000 conscious decisions every day, and how we spend our money is determined by some of them. But what actually influences our financial choices? Well, scarcity for one. If we're worried that the supply of something will run out, we're more likely to buy it, even if we don't need it right now. Another is what's known as delayed reward discounting, when you choose smaller, more immediate purchases over larger ones that you have to wait for. So maybe buying a $20 t-shirt when you should really be saving for a holiday. And there's also loss aversion, the idea that we feel losses more strongly than gains. So if $10 falls out your wallet, you'll notice that more than if you find $10 in the street. But what does all that mean in the real world? Well, the Decision Lab uses behavioural science and economics to advise companies and governments. Its research director unpicked one example from the pandemic.
Uncertainty creates stress. Stress taxes your cognitive resources. That means you have less resource available to tamp down the automatic thinking, which means your fast brain is going to leap in more often. You're going to be making more like automatic reflexive decisions. And so we will place more of a premium on certainty and on dependability, reliability, that kind of thing. So for instance, some of the campaigns we worked on with financial institutions was, arrived at this positioning of like, we are here for you. So like, we are your support, we're in your corner, because that was the kind of message that was very well aligned and resonating with where clients were at that moment.
So there's a lot of stress and anxiety at the moment, something Professor Mark Bergen says is normal. But there are some pitfalls to be aware of that could make things worse.
For me, what's interesting about this inflation is it comes after a pandemic. So you can take those natural stressors, and I think you put them on steroids. And now what you have is kind of and inflation too, on months and months of uncertainty and risk and loss and anxiety and frustration. When you get exhausted and fatigued, you tend to make worse decisions, which also means you may make decisions to, engage in things that wouldn't be as, you may have fast food instead of the healthy meal. You may find yourself, having that extra drink, or you may find yourself smoking, or so there is literature that suggests that exhaustion fatigue may lead you to choices that are less healthy or less beneficial.
So those are some of the problems, but what are the solutions? Well, I've been speaking to Dr. Elizabeth Dunn, who's Chief Science Officer of the online finance tool Happy Money. She's a co-author of a book by the same name and a psychology professor at the University of British Columbia. Elizabeth, welcome to Talking Business. It's great to have you with us. And we're looking at the psychology of spending. I wonder, first of all, why does spending money make us feel so happy?
Well, I think spending money can be a great pleasure because it enables us to get the things that we really desire. And also, there's just so much sort of dreaming built up around spending money.
And the reason we're talking about this is because we know right now inflation around the world is going up pretty quickly. Prices are rising for a lot of people. We're going to have to make some tough decisions about spending. And I suppose that's where you come in. How do you make the right decisions that will help you financially, but clearly emotionally as well?
So I think one really important piece of the puzzle is to consider your future self. So our research at Happy Money has demonstrated that people who really focus on their future selves rather than just their immediate needs and wants end up with 1/3 as much credit card debt as those people who are more focused on instant gratification. So think about, making purchasing decisions that are going to benefit your future self, and that can help check your spending while also perhaps setting yourself up for greater financial self-efficacy and happiness down the road.
How important is positive thinking, dreaming for those aspirations, aiming for those targets financially in achieving them? Can you believe something to come true?
Yeah, so positive thinking is not a panacea that will fix everything and make life be just exactly the way you imagine it could be, right? But I think that positive thinking can be a good first step in helping us recognize that there are specific feasible changes that we can make right now that can get us onto a better path. So as challenging as the financial times are right now, we can recognize, okay, I don't have as much money to spend right now because the cost of living has gone up. So let me think a little bit more carefully about what spending choices are really giving me happiness and what could I get rid of? And one of the tips I like to give people is to think about the habitual purchases, the things you kind of buy every day or every week that used to make you happy, but that you no longer even notice. And just try taking a break from them. Try getting out of that habit. And then you can see, is it really making you happy? If so, you can go back to it with some renewed pleasure. If not, you can cut it out of your day-to-day spending